How to experience confidence? Well, that's a really big subject for a lot of people, and for myself, it's certainly been a theme in my own life. At different points, I've encountered this, and I've got a few things to say about this that I hope will shed some light on it for you. I talked about this last night in the men's group that I run, and the guys were talking about how there are these repeat patterns of which they're very aware of, and they're also very aware of where those patterns come from, and how that story that they're telling themselves has started about not being good enough in some way, and why they fear moving out of that pattern. And so I shared with them a sort of jumpstart technique that I find really valuable. And it goes in line with the idea that you're really just shaking the walls of your construct, and you're just reminding yourself that it's not real, but it's effective. So it follows the teachings of feel the fear and do it anyway. And so you're in this sort of I don't know why I see it like some sort of fairground ride, but it's almost like that. That's, those pirate ships that swing back and forth. So you've got fearing to act or acting with fear. But how do you move beyond acting with fear? Well, with acceptance of all of what you're feeling, you take yourself into the acting with fear mode. And what's to prevent you from doing that? Well, paralysis, overanalysis, it's basically the same thing, and measuring out the consequences of your actions, all of those things. But there is a moment of decision. There's always that. There's a moment when you can say, I'm going to do it anyway. Irrespective of this fear, I'm going to do it anyway. So let's just say for now that you do that you move yourself past that feeling of being paralyzed, and you take action, but you're still afraid. Now, understand, I feel that you are now just on the outer border of where you were when you're sitting in that analysis paralysis place. You're sitting on the outer border of what held you back from action, and in that moment, something has changed. And it's like you're wearing this heavy cloak, and it has been preventing you from moving at all. So weighty is this cloak of fear, and it's very hard to slough off. It took a lot for you to move beyond your paralysis, but you did it. In that moment, as soon as you do that, I want to say, from repeated experience myself and from people that I've spoken to about this, that cloak suddenly becomes light. You're still carrying it, but it's very light. And it's a unique opportunity in that exact moment to slough it off. Because you're faced with your story. You're looking at it. It's held you back. It's literally paralyzed you over and over again. You've gone around a rabbit's warren in your mind of rationalizations about why you can't act. You've done that for a long time. And now you've actually taken whatever the step is that you wanted to take. The cloak is light on your shoulders. You have the opportunity in that moment just to drop it. Let it go. Now, I said I've done this many times before, and I can think of lots and lots of situations, but quite a lot of years ago, I was really self-conscious about my body image. And I remember being paralyzed, not wanting to go into public situations wearing a swimsuit, to go to the beach. I felt so exposed, and as if a whole army of judgment was coming at me, but of course it was all in here. And so one of the ways, I'm not recommending this for you, I'm just saying it really worked for me, that I jump-started myself beyond holding on to that particular paradigm, it was a real paradigm shift, is I chose to do something slightly more extreme, and I went to a nudist beach. Because, obviously I was afraid of being in a swimsuit, so this was going to confront me with myself and my own story, impossible to ignore. And it's quite a good picture in a sense, because sloughing off the cloak in the completely naked state became impossible to hang on to that, actually. Like I really felt it heavy and burdensome, and also what it was like I had developed wings. I felt lighter. It wasn't just that cloak that had been on my shoulders for years was easier to slough off, but I myself felt lighter because I could see the ridiculousness, if that's a word, of my construct, of what I'd been holding. And, you know, it's never actually about how you compare yourself to other people, even though we think that's what it is. If you measure yourself against anyone, you're always going to come up short. But we tell ourselves that those are the reasons, that, we're not as good as someone else, or we don't look like that, or we can't do that in that way, whatever it might be. But in fact, it's what's going on in your head entirely. It's all of those voices you've embodied inside yourself that become the representation of not good enough. So that can be applied to any situation. As I said, I am not recommending that, because your choices are your own, that you go and challenge in the extreme way every one of your fears. But I do want to say that on the other side, when you act with fear, it becomes so much easier. And the more you do it, it's much more than experiencing some pseudo notion of confidence. It's actually you shaking the entire, I hate continually using the word, but it's the best word for it, the entire construct, the whole idea of who you think you are, that you've built up, and every part of it. You're shaking all of it when you do this, and it makes it far harder for it to tenaciously hold on, or for you to hold on to it. It gives you a real sense of freedom. Now, you might ask, why did I refer to confidence as pseudo-confidence? Well, because the idea of confidence comes from your mind. It's not real. If you have confidence, you have the lack thereof. You can't have one without the other. And so it's like saying, is there really such a thing as abundance? Well, no, there isn't, because abundance is a reaction to lack. It's the swing in the other direction. So it's part of that dualistic paradigm. But there is just you, and this you has nothing to do with this story that you tell yourself, nothing whatsoever, and nothing to do with good or bad, or judgments that you might have felt come towards you from others, or that you heap on yourselves. It resonates with the words, I am. And of course, that's the real so-called confidence. It is acceptance. It's the highest form of love. And in that, you find peace with yourself and with everything around you. That is where real confidence is experienced.